memorize it to such a precise level, such that you can close it and recite it for Fatiha to Nas like many millions of people can do. Is this not a standing, living, walking miracle? People can study books for years and years and years and read them over and over, and they have not even memorized one paragraph word for word. They might be able to memorize meanings, yes, but word for word, even professors and even people who have spent their lives concentrating on particular subjects, let's say Shakespeare for example, they can quote you lines, they can quote you phrases, but no one memorizes it word for word, cover to cover, every single letter and phrase. It's not humanly possible. Yet the Qur'an, we never think about it. There are millions of people, hundreds of millions maybe even, that have memorized the Qur'an. It is so common that there is not a single community of Muslims on the face of this earth except that there are huffaz in the dozens amongst them, in the hundreds even. Here we are living in Dar al-Kufr, a non-Muslim country, and yet we have huffaz. They are so common, you cannot even count them. Hundreds in any city, in any Catholic country. Do we not realize this is a walking, living miracle? That someone can memorize it so easily. A few months, a few weeks, a few years, and he'll memorize the whole book. Also, when one of us memorizes the Qur'an, think about it. Try memorizing your book on physics and chemistry. Memorize one page of it, word for word. Try it, you cannot do it. You'll memorize meanings, yes. You might memorize phrases, yes. But memorize word for word, start off the introduction and start reciting, it's not humanly possible to do. Yet we have the Qur'an, every one of us might have memorized dozens of pages, and we never think how easy it is. And this is, in my opinion, one of the types of i'jaz which is so easily present and available, yet underappreciated. You don't pause to think that this is a miracle, and yet it is. And many of the scholars have pointed out this fact that the Qur'an is a miracle in this regard, that it can be memorized with such ease. Of them is Ibn al-Jawzi. He has a beautiful passage in which he writes, "All praise is due to Allah who has favored us by His grace above all other nations and blessed us with the memorization of the Qur'an. For Allah has made our ummah unique by the fact that it can be memorized, the Qur'an can be memorized and understood, because those who were before us used to read their scriptures without memorizing them." So this is a clear-cut miracle which all of us have experienced, all of us know about, yet very few of us even realize that it is a miracle. Before we conclude, I've quoted like 7 or 8 or 9 different types of i'jaz. 2 points. Firstly, that these types of i'jaz are not the only types. There are many, many more types of i'jaz of the Qur'an. Secondly, the fact that the i'jaz of the Qur'an is inherent in it. It is a part of it. Therefore, when someone tries to challenge the Qur'an, he must try to imitate these same types of things that we have talked about. From the eloquence to the message, right, to the fact that it can memorize and so on and so forth. When Allah challenges them, bring a surah similar to it, then they have to try to meet this challenge. And if you go and read the attempts that have been done, wallahi, everyone will laugh when they read these attempts. And even to this day, there's a website out there, I believe, that it has some surahs, quote unquote, forged by them. If you read it, you realize that this is not from Allah Azza wa Jalla. This is a fabrication. You don't have to have any knowledge. It's your fitrah, your human nature, that will tell you that these are fabrications, because they have not met up to any of these challenges of the i'jaz. And we conclude by one final aspect, and that is the question, what is the minimum portion of the Qur'an that is miraculous? What is the minimum portion that contains i'jaz? Is it 1 ayah? Is it 3 ayahs? Is it 1 surah? Is it a large passage? There are a number of opinions on the matter. Some ulama say that the i'jaz of the Qur'an is dependent on the whole Qur'an, all of the Qur'an. Others say that the i'jaz of the Qur'an is present in any surah, in its entirety. Yet others say that the i'jaz of the Qur'an is present throughout the Qur'an. There's no minimum. Even a phrase or a small passage or even half a verse contains i'jaz. And it seems, and Allah knows best, that the strongest opinion is that any portion of the Qur'an which qualifies as Qur'an contains i'jaz. Any portion which qualifies a sentence and half an ayah, which you will understand is the Qur'an. It's a legitimate sentence. That will be miraculous, but it is only the entire Qur'an which proves all the aspects of i'jaz put together. So we say that the Qur'an, a portion of the Qur'an is miraculous in some aspects, But only the whole Qur'an is miraculous in every single aspect. All of these aspects we talked about, only the whole Qur'an as taken as a whole is fully miraculous in all of them. But even a portion of the Qur'an is still miraculous in some ways. Maybe not in all ways, but in some ways. So no one can imitate even a portion of the Qur'an. With this I conclude this talk regarding the miraculous nature of the Qur'an, and I repeat over and over again that this is something we as Muslims need to emphasize, need to bring out, because this is the challenge that Allah has given to the mushrikun in the Prophet's time, and we can still use it to the kuffar. Bring the speech similar to it. The miracle of the Qur'an is so powerful because it removes the time and space factor upon miracles. The miracles of Musa and Isa, you had to be there to see them. The miracle of the Prophet, we don't have to have been there. It is amongst us now. And this is the beauty of the Qur'an, and this is why it is so powerful. You don't have to be there. The Qur'an is permanent. You don't have to be there or even be of that society or culture. Every society and culture can appreciate this miracle. This miracle can be given to everybody at all times and all places, and that is why the Qur'an is the strongest of all miracles that Allah Azza wa Jal has ever sent. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Any questions, brothers and sisters? Raise your hands, please. Yeah. Can you raise your voice, sister? There were 5? The third one is Surah 11, verse 13. The fourth one is Surah 17, verse 8. The third one is Surah 11, verse 13. The fourth one is Surah 17, verse 88. And the fifth one is Surah 52, verse 33 and 34. Any other questions? Thank you. Sorry, yes. He's still writing it. I don't think he has a title to the book. And his name, his Muslim name, I don't know, his last name is not pronounceable by me because it's an African name, but his first name is Fahad. And when it comes out, inshallah, I'll send the brother to an email. But presently he's still in hiding, he's writing the book. It should take some time to read it, inshallah. But it's not out in print yet, inshallah.
Something from around the course, what happened to that brother? Something pretty big, 25 years doing something there, then becoming Muslim. Something like that, they consider karama?
It's not a karama per se, because a karama has to be something supernatural, but it shows you the mu'jiza of the Qur'an. It is a proof of the mu'jiza of the Qur'an. That a person to that level, to that knowledge, he just needs Surah Ikhlas to convert. Can you imagine how much indoctrination he must have gone over? And within milliseconds, to just reject all of that and accept Islam, there's no other religion that can do that. No other book that can do that. Okay? So this shows you the proof of the mu'jiza of the Qur'an.
I just want to clarify, Yusuf Islam, when he reverted, he recalls being on a chalet in Miami, he was drowning, and at that stage, he waited for his friend waved back, before he was just waving, you know. And when he realized that there was no one there to help him, except Allah, he called out to Allah, he said, "Oh Allah, if you get me out of this one, I promise that I'll dedicate my life to you." He said, just at that moment, the wave came by and pushed me forward to take territory. And like anything else, we're human, we forget promises that we make. It wasn't until he went back to London,
and then his brother gave him the prophet,
and his brother gave him, and he realized the promise he made. Yes. There's something like a dua being answered right then and there.
That's a karam. That is a karam.
Yeah.
A dua being answered right then and there is a karam. Yes. 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 It is. There is no doubt that any person who calls out to the Creator, even